Hi everyone, hope you are having a good day. So you probably have used or at least heard of Node.js. It's a JavaScript runtime that lets you run JavaScript on servers and bunch of other places. You also might have heard of Deno and Bun. These are like competitors of Node.js, which promises to offer better developer experience and performance. So for example, here on the Bun's website, they have some of this benchmark on Express, Hello World, and Postgres request and WebSocket. So based on these benchmarks, seems like Bun is clearly the winner here. But how does it apply to like real world projects, right? So to find out, I built the same CRUD app in both Node, Deno, and Bun. In this video, I'll be sharing my developer experience of all three of them, and at the end we'll do some load test. Hopefully this will help you to decide which runtime to use on your next project. So let me show you the code base, starting with Node. I have a basic Express app here. You might notice there is no build folder because starting from Node version 23, you can officially run TypeScript in Node. So you don't need TS Node or any of this like TypeScript compilers. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, I have a four routes here that basically does a CRUD operation on the Pokemons. So on this /Pokemons route, I am fetching all the Pokemons from a Postgres database. I'll show you the data. So I have this table Pokemons, and here I have name, type, and avatar. To show you the result, let's run the app. Run start. You can see it's running on port 8001. So to see the result, let's open a API client. So I have listed all the routes here. We need to go to Node Pokemons. Yeah, you can see the full route here, 8001/Pokemons. You run it. You basically get all the data with the ID, name, and you can see the avatar route. If you just copy this, you can see the image, right? So if you are building a client side, you can use this image path to show the Pokemon avatar. Okay, so moving on, I have a route for inserting Pokemons where I'm just taking the name, type, and the image path as a body and inserting them in the Postgres database. And then we have a delete route, and we have another route where you can see the Pokemon details if you pass the Pokemon's ID. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. If you have worked with Express before, this might look very familiar. Let's move on to Deno, which is pretty similar, but instead of Express, I'm using this library called Oak. Hope I'm saying it right. This is the one they suggested in their documentation, so I went with this. One thing you may notice, there is no node modules file in Deno projects because all these third-party packages that you install is coming from HTTP. I might make a separate video how Deno handle this package installation part. But yeah, I like having no node modules. Also, Deno supports environments, so you don't need to install a third-party package like .env. You can just use deno.env.get and give your environment variable name, which you can put in your .env file. And then same as Node, I have those 4 routes here. So in get Pokemons, basically just fetching the Pokemons and returning the data. And this Deno server is running on port 8002. Moving to Bun. For Bun, I'm also using Express, but one interesting part is the SQL is directly coming from Bun, and that's because the Bun package itself supports SQL along with a bunch of other stuff. So if you see their docs, go to docs, you can see the API, all the APIs they support. So go to SQL, and here you can see the details how Bun directly supports Postgres. Along with this, they also support SQLite and also like S3. So it's pretty cool that you don't have to install third-party packages, and all this comes directly with Bun. Pretty cool. Also, I love their docs. Compared to like Node or Deno, I probably prefer Bun's documentation the most. Going back to the code, I have the same API routes here. Get Pokemons, and you can see I'm fetching the Pokemons from the database, and same as before, just returning the JSON. The post route does pretty much the same thing, as well as the delete and the detail route. So yeah, code base wise, I would say all three are kind of similar. But I do love how Bun directly comes with all these packages, like especially SQL, where I don't need to like do these configurations. You just import the SQL package and set your Postgres URL or database URL in the env, and it will just work. And the documentation is also pretty great. So overall, I would prefer Bun over Deno or Node if I had to pick one. Now let's talk about how I deployed this. You will see I have a Docker file on each of the projects. So for Node, I'm using this Node 23.7-slim image, and then exposing to 8001, and then copying the files I need, and then installing the packages. So I guess pretty straightforward Docker file. And then pretty similar for Deno, just using the Deno's official image and then exposing to 8002. Also, one thing that's interesting is you need to pass these configs to allow Deno to do certain things. For example, if you need to allow Deno to access your env files, you need to pass this config. That was pretty cool. It might help you to make your app more secure. Then for Bun, this might look pretty similar as Node, just instead of npm we are using Bun. And then I have a Docker compose file here that is basically just running all of those projects into like their corresponding ports. And then I deployed all of these three servers in a single VPS that I got from Hetzner. Replace localhost with the IP. You can ignore the response taking so long. I know some of you guys like to complain about that, but the thing is, like, I live in Bangladesh and the server I got is from Germany, and my database is in Singapore, right? So first, when I make a request, it has to go to Germany, and then from Germany, it has to go to Singapore, and then back to Germany, and then back to Bangladesh. So the whole thing takes some time. And now if you're wondering why the location is on Germany and not on Singapore, like close to the database, it's because initially I thought like I would put everything on Singapore, but for some reason on Hetzner, the Singapore server is a lot more expensive than the other options. So I went with the cheapest one, which was in German. So yeah, that's why. Now, if you see our Deno server, it takes around like a little more or less than like 500 millisecond for response, right? And if you see our Bun server, it takes like slightly more. And for Node server, so yeah, if you just put like one or two requests, all three of them seems kind of like perform pretty similar, right? To see any substantial difference, we'll have to put a lot more requests, and that's where our load test will come in handy. So the idea is we'll put 100 concurrent requests in all three of these servers, once with the get request and once with insert request. For our load testing, I have set up a locust config here. So this one is for Node, and this for Deno, and this for Bun. And all three of these are for getting Pokemons, and these three are for inserting Pokemons. Let's start the locust server. Here we can put like how many requests we want to do. So at peak concurrency, we want 100 requests, and then on each second we want to ramp up by 10 users. Host will be at the rate. We will gonna run this for a minute. Start. Okay, so the requests are coming in, and if we see our server, you can see the requests are taking the CPU resources, and so far our average response time has been 2 seconds. We don't have any failed request yet. Let's see the chart. Okay, so we are handling like 40 requests per second. Okay, so it looks like it's done. Our Node server handled in total 2300 requests, and none of them were failed. and the average response time was a little over 2200 millisecond, almost 2.2 seconds. Now let's try for Deno. $100, and same as before, 60 seconds. Start. We looking pretty good here. The average response time was 800. Yeah, quite a significant improvement from, and we handled like a lot more requests as well. Okay, now time for Bun. Same as before, 100 requests, ramp up by 10, host at the rate, run for 60 seconds. This seems to be taking more than Deno. This seems to be slower than Deno. Yeah, it's taking like more than 2 seconds. Okay, so this was unexpected. It took like 2200 millisecond. And it is even slightly higher than Node. Is something wrong with my code? Like, what is it? I don't know, man. I couldn't find anything that could give me the reason why Deno was a lot more faster. Probably because I gave the poll size of Deno a lot higher than Bun. Maybe some way to configure that. I have to do more research on that. But this just goes to show that all these benchmarks you see on different landing pages or videos doesn't tell the whole story, right? Like how in this case, based on my code, Deno was actually the fastest amongst Bun or Node, right? Maybe in your code, Bun will be the fastest. I don't know. So yeah, if you find something that I'm doing wrong in this code base, please do let me know. The GitHub link will be linked in the description. And yeah, now let's move on to the post request. On peak concurrency 100, and we'll ramp up by 10. But we'll run this for a lot shorter since I don't want to insert like hundreds of thousands of data. So maybe 15 seconds. So the requests are coming in. 200 requests so far. The average was 1700. You can see previously there was 51 Pokemons in there, and if you give a refresh, and now we have like 761. So we basically inserted like 610 new Pokemons. So maybe we can just note that. Now let's try for Deno. Again, seems like Deno was a lot more performant. The average was only 253 or 54 millisecond, and did a lot more request. And again, seems like Bun was the slowest, like 2 seconds, which is even slower than Node, it seems. So we inserted 621 new Pokemons, which is slightly higher than Node. So yeah, this is the result of my load test, and based on this, seems like Deno is the clear winner. And I'm not sure why Bun performed like this. My understanding was Bun is supposed to be the fastest. Maybe the SQL package of Bun is doing something, and maybe I'm not setting it right. I'm not sure. But again, the code base is on the GitHub, so guys, please do check it out and let me know if I did anything wrong or something. And yeah, that was it, guys. Hope you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.